Every idea is not meant to be a great message. Every idea is not meant to be delivered out to the world. Every idea is not a good idea. So you need to make sure that if you're going to deliver constant messages, the one thing about being a messenger is you can't really deliver the same message the same way over and over again for ad nauseum. You have to at some point jazz it up or bring in more messages.
Welcome to Mastering Your Message. We believe that you have a message and that people need to hear it. So if you want help getting that message crafted, getting that message battle tested, and getting that message out there, we can help you get it all together. Visit the website podcastguidancefoundhere.com and click the link for Mastering Your Message. Then give us the info we need, and we'll set you up with the classes and coaching to help you get that message mastered. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne, and I want to thank you for joining us for the podcast today.
Your message is the end results. The words you speak out to the crowd, the video and the actions you give on that actual moving pictures, the not so moving picture that you do in some sort of artwork, or the words you write down on a page, or in this case, type down on a computer in pixels for other people to read and take in. That is the message, the culmination at the end point of what it is you're delivering. But where does that message actually come from? It comes from literal thin air, out of nowhere, an idea. An idea that comes into your head from some random place in the world, or some event that happens that means something to you, or from just a toss away phrase that someone says at dinner that you're not supposed to be paying much attention to, but somehow brings up an idea that you do pay attention to. It drives you to create those words and to craft those words and to edit those words and to put those words into something that is palatable and easy for others to understand, to turn an idea into a message. But every idea is not meant to be a message or a great message. Every idea is not meant to be delivered out to the world. Every idea is not a good idea. So you need to make sure that if you're going to deliver constant messages, the one thing about being a messenger is you can't really deliver the same message the same way over and over again for ad nauseum. You have to at some point jazz it up or bring in more messages. You cannot fall in love with an idea at first sight. You can never do that. And while you will have plenty of ideas that you'll pop into your head, you think the most brilliant things in the world that will bring you that fame and fortune that you've always been looking for, or will finally convince that group of people who don't want to hear your message, they need to listen and listen now. It might not work out as well as you think, and it might take more work to get it done than you think. And after all that work and effort, it just still may not work out the way you think. So the reason why you cannot fall in love with just random ideas at the first time they pop up is that the idea itself just might not be very good. You have to come to a realization that everything you're coming up with, even if it's in the same general venue of what it is you're speaking, is not going to support that main concept as well as you believe it will be. In some cases, it's going to draw away from it, and you may have some weird abstract notion that it feels right. Just because it feels right doesn't mean it's going to do you right very much. That idea you have might not be any good. And it might be that it's not good for the moment. It might be a little ahead of its time. It might be a little behind the times. It may have come about from a drunken stupor that once you get sober, you realize, yeah, this is terrible. It doesn't matter. You just can't fall in love with it. Now, it doesn't mean it's not an ugly idea that can, take a little turning around, put lipstick on that pig and make it work. You just have to make sure that every idea you come up with isn't the greatest idea ever. And some of those ideas you realize aren't going to work anyway because they may not be any good until they actually get tested out and you find out. If you find out that it is better than you think it is, then go for it. But don't just fall in love with it instantly, because you never really know until something gets tested or someone actually asks you a question and you find you can't answer it, whether an idea you have is going to be even a decent idea. And even if the idea is a good idea or something that really needs to be pushed out, you can't fall in love with the idea as a way to present to your people, because people may not get it. Your audience may not respond to the idea you have as well as you want. And this is not to harp on the it's not very good type of idea, but it's not even about it being good. They just may not like it. One of the oddest things about being an artist, a true artist, and creating some sort of art is sometimes the fans just don't get it. They don't want it. they change their minds. They follow some sort of plan, and then something else will catch their attention, and then all of a sudden you don't have their attention. It's a wonder how many musical artists these days can stay relevant, because it takes very little to change the direction of music these days. I think of an artist like Madonna, who does not release very much on the new ends. She does some shows here or there, and it's basically a showcase of old stuff. But she's making her money and making her living off of literally the royalties of things that I was listening to back in elementary school, which was 30 years ago. So what do you do when you have people who don't get your message? You have people who don't get your message, and then all sorts of havoc and chaos can happen. They could turn on you, they could scratch their heads and just look at you funny. You never really know what's going to happen. So don't fall in love with that idea until you've had a chance to basically battle test it and field test it a few times, because the audience that you're targeting may not respond to it as well as you want to, and maybe the audience that you're not targeting may take it on to a higher level that's not where it's supposed to be. Think about the Punisher skull and the issues that Marvel is having with the Punisher skull for all different types of people, whether they are pro-us or anti-us. And you can take us in basically any aspect you want to. And the third reason why you should not fall in love with an idea at first sight is because some of these things are huge. Some of these ideas are really, really big. Some of them are, let's call them, God-level ideas that require you to take on a role that is oversized for most people. But for some, they find a way to fit the bill. Maybe you're not one to fit that bill. Maybe you're not one who's really up for the challenge of leading the charge to take that message on. As grand and great as you believe the message to be, and as awesome as it might feel like if you were the one to stand on that mountaintop and deliver that message, some people are called, some people wish they were called, and realize that once they get a chance to get close to those called, why they're not called. You might not be ready to be that messenger or deliver that message. This is not to say that you will never be ready to be that messenger or deliver that message, but don't be in such a hurry to charge forward with this new epiphany because you're running out of time to get it done. In most cases, all epiphanies need a little time to settle down and have the person to actually understand how it actually is going to affect them and those around them and how to bring it into play. So just because you have a hot idea that you think must go out right now, back away, take a breath, look it over real good, and make sure that that message from God really did come from God and wasn't just the whisperings of some person on the other side of the room that was trying to get advantage of you because you might be a little drunk and could be really, really tuned to taking a suggestion right now. Going back to a few messages ago. So, remember, having lots of ideas is great. In fact, your messages come from ideas. So the more ideas you have, the more messages you can use and the more ideas you can mold together for greater, grander messages. And so it's great to take in a lot of messages, write them down, and evaluate them. But don't just fall in love with any old idea that pops up and think that this is the one that's going to take you to the next level. It probably isn't, at least not in the raw sense that it is. Remember, that idea might not be good. It may look good in a moment, but, under sober eyes, you may realize exactly just how not good it is. The audience that you are trying to shoot for may not respond to it as well as you want, and vice versa. The audience that you didn't really want to bring in may take it in and live by it when they're not the ones that are supposed to be living by it. You never know until you think about it and play out the full consequences. And if it's something that requires you to actually take action and lead a charge, if you will, you might not be ready to take that action or be the leader of that charge. The work involved in being that person may not be something you want to do or something you're up to do right now. Time may tell, and the idea may be the spark to get you towards that being that person. But just because you have it doesn't mean you're the one who's supposed to run with it. Maybe you're one who's supposed to support someone going forward. It's a hard charging thought, but sometimes that's the way it goes. Now that I've delivered that message to you, I need to thank you so much for being a part of this episode. And I want you to visit our website, masteryourmessage.net. We're going to help you create, craft, and of course, master your message. There are free materials as well as paid courses and personal coaching services to choose from. but we can't help you get started on your journey to message perfection until you visit us at masteryourmessage.net. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating or review, and share it with some friends who are also looking to master their messages.